$89. That was what Brown thought this problem would cost. His air conditioner had stopped cooling during one of the hottest weeks of the year, and a local company promised to inspect it for just $89. Brown expected an answer. 40 minutes after the technician arrived, he was looking at two very different options. Spend $1,900 repairing an old system that might fail again, or spend $9,400 replacing everything tomorrow. Brown chose the replacement. But 3 days after the new system was installed, he opened the paperwork and noticed something important was missing. Something he should have received before making a $9,400 decision. So how did an $89 inspection become a complete replacement? And why did the most expensive option begin to feel like the safest one? It started at 3:17 in the afternoon. Brown heard the air conditioner running, but the house kept getting warmer. The thermostat was set to 72 degrees. The temperature inside had already reached 84. He placed his hand over a vent. Air was coming out. It just was not cold. Brown replaced the filter. He checked the circuit breaker. He turned the system off, waited 5 minutes and turned it back on. Nothing changed. Outside, the afternoon heat was still rising. Inside, the ice in Brown's glass was disappearing faster than he could drink it. He opened his phone and searched. AC repair near me. The first company could come in 4 days. The second gave him an appointment window sometime later that week. Then Brown found an advertisement offering a same-day inspection for $89. That number felt small enough to approve without much thought. Brown was not choosing a repair. He was not shopping for a new air conditioner. He was simply paying someone to tell him what was wrong. So he booked the visit. The technician arrived that evening wearing a clean uniform and carrying a large tool bag. He began at the thermostat. Then he opened the indoor unit, connected several instruments and watched numbers move across a small screen. Brown did not understand the readings, but the technician seemed to. They went outside. The technician removed another panel, inspected the equipment and took several photographs. The process looked careful, technical, certain. By the time they returned inside, Brown was no longer wondering whether the system had a problem. He was waiting to learn how expensive that problem would be. The technician showed him a photograph of corrosion near the indoor coil. Then he showed him one of the readings. He explained that the system appeared to be losing refrigerant and that part of the indoor unit might need repair. Then he asked Brown how old the system was. Brown did not know. The technician checked the serial number. 14 years. He did not say the system was impossible to repair. He said something more persuasive. We can repair it. The question is whether putting more money into a 14-year-old system makes sense. A few minutes earlier, Brown had been thinking about one broken component. Now he was imagining every old component that could break next. The technician opened a proposal on his tablet. The first option was to repair the current problem. Parts, labor and refrigerant would bring the estimated price to approximately $1,900. The repair could restore the cold air, but most of the system would remain 14 years old. The technician could not promise that the compressor would not fail later. He could not guarantee that Brown would not face another repair next summer. Then he showed Brown the second option. A complete replacement. New indoor equipment. New outdoor equipment. A new thermostat. A longer parts warranty. And the company had an installation crew available the following morning. The total price was $9,400. On paper, the repair was $7,500 cheaper. But the two options did not feel $7,500 apart. The repair was explained through everything that could still go wrong. The replacement was explained through everything Brown would no longer need to worry about. One option came with uncertainty. The other came with a crew available tomorrow. Then the technician added one final detail. If Brown approved the replacement during the visit, the company would credit the $89 inspection fee toward the new system. The $89 credit was tiny compared with $9,400. But the decision was no longer only about money. The house had reached 87 degrees. Brown imagined another night without cold air. If he called another company, he might have to wait several days. He might pay another inspection fee. And that technician might tell him exactly the same thing. The replacement crew was available tomorrow. Waiting felt like risking that opening. Brown looked at the two options again. Then he asked the question people often ask when they do not feel qualified to decide. What would you do if this were your house? The technician looked at the old equipment. I would not put another $1,900 into a 14-year-old system. That answer did not change the price. It changed who appeared responsible for the decision. If Brown chose the repair and the system failed again, Brown would blame himself. If he followed the technician's recommendation, the replacement felt professionally justified. The technician turned the tablet toward him. Brown signed. The next morning, a truck arrived. The old equipment was removed. The new system was installed. By evening, cold air was moving through the vents again. Brown watched the temperature fall. From 86 degrees to 80. Then to 74. The replacement worked. And because it worked, the decision immediately felt correct. 3 days later, Brown opened the paperwork. The replacement proposal was detailed. It listed the new equipment, installation work, warranty, and total price. The repair option was not. It contained a short description and an estimated total. Brown knew exactly what the $9,400 replacement included. But he still could not explain what the $1,900 repair would have fixed. He did not know what warranty came with it. He did not know how long it was reasonably expected to last. And he did not know whether every other technician would have recommended a full replacement. So Brown called another air conditioning company. He described the age of the system and the suspected coil problem. Then he asked, if a 14-year-old system has a leaking coil, does the entire system always need to be replaced? The answer was not yes. It was not no. The answer was, it depends. It depended on the exact location of the problem, the condition of the remaining components, the availability of compatible parts, the repair warranty, and how long Brown expected to remain in the home. That call did not prove the first technician was wrong. Replacing the system might still have been the best long-term decision. But Brown finally understood what had been missing. He had received a detailed replacement proposal. He had never received enough information to compare it fairly with the repair. That is what makes emergency home repairs so difficult. The person diagnosing the problem is often the same person selling the solution. That does not automatically mean the diagnosis is dishonest. It means the buyer has less information than the seller. Brown could not interpret the measurements. He did not know which repairs were possible. And every additional degree inside the house made speed feel more important than comparison. The technician did not need to force Brown to choose the replacement. He only needed to describe the repair through risk, and the replacement through relief. Brown was never simply choosing between $1,900 and $9,400. The decision felt more like this. Spend $1,900 now and possibly pay for a replacement later. Or spend $9,400 once and make the entire problem disappear tomorrow. Under that framing, the expensive option began to feel like protection against a future loss. So what should Brown have done? He did not need to become an air conditioning expert. When it was safe and practical to wait, he needed 3 things before approving a complete replacement. First, a written diagnosis. What exactly failed? What measurements support that conclusion? And which components are still working? Your system is old, may be useful context. But age alone does not explain the failure. Second, a complete repair only quote. What would be repaired? What would remain old? What warranty comes with the work? And what specific risks would still remain afterward? Brown should be able to understand the repair option just as clearly as he understands the replacement. Third, 1 independent opinion. Not 10 estimates. Just 1 additional qualified company looking at the same problem. If both companies recommend replacement, Brown can then compare total installed prices, equipment, warranties, permits, and included work. Not just which company can arrive first. And not just which technician sounds more confident. During extreme heat, safety comes first, especially when children, elderly people, or medically vulnerable occupants are inside the home. But when waiting is safe, a portable air conditioner or one night somewhere cooler can buy Brown something more valuable than the $89 credit. Time to make a $9,400 decision like a $9,400 decision. Brown may still have chosen the replacement. But he would have chosen it after comparing the evidence. Not because one company controlled the diagnosis, the alternatives, and the deadline. Brown thought the $89 inspection would buy him an answer. What he needed was enough information to make a choice. Because an $89 inspection should not quietly turn one company's recommendation into a $9,400 decision.